questions to start with. So one, what does that conversation look like? And then two, it sounded like we had some thought or some conversation around how do we follow up? So what does that look like and sound like, right? What other questions do we have?
I even wonder how to start this. Like, I'm not building a bench. It's like when I need to hire, I have a bunch of interviews, and even at that point, I might talk more of the bench conversation with people like, you're not a fit for this, but you could be good for something else. Let's keep chatting. But if I'm not doing an interview for a specific position, I don't interview anyone usually.
Yeah, my situation is like, or what my train of thought is, most people who are looking for a job are looking for a job. And so how do you go about building a bench for a position that you have no idea when you'll need that person, you know?
Well, and go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zach. I was just going to stack on to all these questions and kind of almost to Cameron and Siobhan's point, like, you know, how do you effectively time block day over day, week over week, when you're still kind of a small team that's not constantly hiring until the need is there? You know, how do you successfully time block and plan and manage to have that bench ready? How do you know you're being successful? How do you know your bench isn't full enough? All those kinds of questions, as you know, as we grow, because our team is only about 10 people. So we're not quite at Logan level where Logans are constantly reviewing resumes all day, every day, right?
Yeah, that's time blocking, right? How do we fit that into our schedule? So what does the conversation look like? How do we follow up? Where do we begin? Where do we even start? And I think even before where do we begin, how do we time block this? How much time do we dedicate to finding this talent and on the team? So I'll start the conversation, because this could be, what could we do, right? Like, what is best practice and where it goes? My thought is generic posts for the roles that you have on the team, whether it be agent or admin, right? So that's where my thought went, is a constant ad running for the position that we are potentially looking at. Thoughts around that?
Do you feel like you're almost like cheating people? Like if you like put an ad out for a TC, I don't need a TC right now. I might in 6 months for a year, and I find an awesome TC. And I'm like, you're awesome. You would fit this position. Great. I'll call you in 6 months when I need you, if I need you.
Well, I think I love that. My thought went to, if you go to career visioning, the actual letdown letter just says, at this time, it's not a great fit. Can we stay in touch for maybe a future position? So I don't know if you are necessarily doing that, but I'd like to hear the group's thoughts.
So is it more that, like, as I'm hiring for other positions, I'm paying attention to who would be good for a potential position that could arise? So as I'm hiring for, or as I'm trying to find a listing manager, I'm noticing that this person would be a great TC. So I'm going to keep them in mind.
Absolutely. I think that plays a part too, right? I think that's in addition to, because I think some people, when you constantly interview, they're going to apply for the TC, but they're really not a great fit.
Maybe Shady Acres too.
Right, where I think what Cameron's discussing is if you find someone who is amazing and would be a great fit, which means, do we have other teams
When I feel like another part of this is like, I don't always want to find people that are looking for jobs, because talented people often have their jobs. And so rather than just even posting an ad, it's how do I tap into my network? And maybe that's what I need to think is I'm not trying to call my SOI to get more closings. Maybe I'm calling my SOI to just meet talented people and just start making connections with more people. Maybe I just have a weird mindset, and when I call it weird, but I feel like we all have it, right? You hire someone when you're ready. That's the only time you're doing interviews, but maybe I need to just shift my thinking and I should just be meeting people constantly, getting to know that talent.
I
Or
think
if you
building
meet
the
them.
relationship.
And then how much of the KPA process do you take them through to give them a position on your bench?
I would love people to at least take the KPA and like validate you. I feel like that's the best relationship building thing that you can do is like, hey, I know everything about you right now. We can keep talking if you want to learn who I am.
Well, and you're only running them through the KPA if you believe they're talent. Right? And then you'd be running the KPA from the perspective of what are they a good fit for, and then rerunning it for the specific job that potentially they could be a fit for. Because I do think, so my thought is, and Cameron, just your thought around that, like as we talk through this, so if you're saying you may need a TC in 6 months, and isn't that part of the bench building? Like if you met a great TC now and you outlined what that plan looks like, one, if they're really that good in producing and you believe they're that great of a talent, is there an opportunity to move it up sooner so they create business for you? Or is that the conversation of what's the plan and this is what we're looking like to hire on? And just being clear about that.
Yeah, even with me, I've thought multiple times like, oh, I'm 6 months away from hiring another person. And then something shifts, we get more efficient or we don't ramp up as big as I'm expecting, and all of that. I feel like my business should just double every 6 months, right? And that's not happening as fast as I thought it was. So even like sometimes my timeline, I feel I'm off. I'm just a buyer, I guess, a buyer and a seller. Like, yeah, I want to buy a house in 6 months, a year, and then I close tomorrow type idea. So I'm not sure if I know my timelines well enough. Like maybe I'm not dialed in enough to feel comfortable even presenting that timeline. But if I knew that they were talented and kind of try to keep them on the hook, I don't know, that's my other struggle. And someone mentioned it here, like, what do you do for that 6 months of if that's the plan?
I think that was really interesting what you were saying about like rather than looking at it like, I guess, hiring, or because that's the way I look at it is like I'm looking for somebody, interview, hire. Maybe it is more just about networking and just knowing specific people so that at that point in time when you are ready, say, hey, you know, I know Jim and Rachel and they both be great fits. Let me reach out to them, you know, build a relationship rather than, you know, I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm thinking.
100%. I think it's about being proactive towards reactive, right? I think the idea behind it is that we find ourselves in a situation where we'll have an admin of any position leave for any reason, right? Whether they're promoted or they got sick or they found a new job. And suddenly we're in a mad hunt to try to find someone to fill the role. And I honestly think that a lot of us, when reflecting, and I can in my career too, think maybe we settled. Right? You don't know if you found the best person, you found the best person out of the ones you were talking to that you thought could solve the problem the fastest. Where what would it look like if you ran an ad that said, looking to hire a TC in the fourth quarter type job description, right? In a way that you worded that, or where you set it up, or as you're networking and start looking at that.
So one time, one of my friends said, hey, I know a director of operations in a different industry that you should probably meet. And he's like, I met him on LinkedIn. He's a cool guy and he's doing some interesting things with home security. So you guys might build a partnership, or you probably have a bunch of the same problems. Why don't you meet? So we met for lunch, and it was super interesting. And I had the thought, and this was 4 years ago or something, I should probably do things like this more often, just meet people, network, and try to figure out like who could be on my bench, or just other talented people to bounce ideas off of, especially in other industries. And I have done nothing about it. Makes me sad. I had this idea years ago, guys. Gosh.
I think that's probably the key, rather than looking, I think you said it, somebody said it earlier, not looking for the people that are in need of a job, looking for people that already have jobs. They're not in a situation where somebody who is looking for a job may need something immediately, but just, again, coming back to that networking with, you know, people that, even if they're not in real estate, but people that have the personalities, you know. I've met a bunch of people and just became like Facebook friends. You know, you could take that and you know, build that relationship, you know. I don't know, just kind of brainstorming, but that's what's making most sense to me now, just by talking through this and hearing everybody else.
So to play that out a little bit more, you meet these people, you talk to them, like they're content where they are. So do you have the conversation like, hey, would you ever be interested in making a switch? Or do you wait until you have that need to fill the position before you actually like broach the question with them?
The question might be more, if a position comes available that I think would be a perfect fit for you, would you be open to allowing me to open that conversation up with you again? I know you're not ready, you're not interested in moving into another position right now, but in the future, can we have another conversation?
Yeah, or
like
maybe,
Go ahead.
maybe you seem like somebody that would mesh well with our team, you know, that in conjunction with your skills, you know, if we did have something in the future, would you be open to hearing about it, you know?
Yeah, I like setting that expectation, because I have a couple of talented people in my sphere that I feel like I call them every year or so, and I'm like, why aren't you working with me yet? Like, let's go sell real estate together. Come be an ISA. Come do this. Come do that. And they are always like, yeah, okay, maybe someday. But I've never set that expectation. Like, hey, like let's legit look at this, or 6 months down the road, if I need someone, would you be interested?
I would follow up with, you know, what would it take for you to really be interested? You know, is it money? Is it work-life balance? I mean, what is it that would cause you to want to change and move into something else? Because if they're satisfied with the money, but maybe they're missing time or something of that nature. You know, coming from experience, I took a pay cut to take this job because I wanted more time with my family. So it's more about, you know, what is it that they want? What is it that is driving them to make a switch, if that's ever going to be the case, so that you can have that in your back pocket along with the conversation when that position opens up.
Yeah, to me, it seems like it would be an easy conversation to have because you're basically just saying, hey, I like you. You seem to be competent. Maybe we could work together, but it could also be something that is kind of templated or scripted. Like if you interact with anyone in your life that you just happen to think might be a good fit for the culture of your team, or you just enjoy, you know, interacting with them, you want to get to know them better. Hey, I just wanted you to know I really like you, or I think you're very good at what you do. Have you ever considered doing X, Y, and Z? And knowing all of the different opportunities that are available on a real estate team, it could just be like, well, I mean, we have agents, operations, ISAs, just being able to speak to all of the different opportunities in the industry. Almost, it could be scripted. I feel like this is just part of how I interact with people professionally and socially. Like, hey, I really like you. Have you ever thought about getting into real estate?
Yeah, great thought process. I would tend to agree. What I hear us saying is that when we say bench, kind of how we're defining it is really just a pipeline that we could call of talent, right? So saying like, I have 6 people that I've met that I know I could pick up the phone with, that I've met over the course of whatever time frame, that boy, I sure would like to work with them. I have something I think they'd be a great fit for. Let me call and see if they're actually interested. Right, which goes with what Deanna was saying, I think, about how do you follow up with them, which means now they're on essentially your drip campaign, right? Like you can invite them to your SOI events. You could do a quarterly call, checking in, and just touching base, seeing how they're doing.
And I would say not just from your sphere, but also clients and even allied resources. Like our admin staff is made up of referrals from allied resource, sphere, and past clients. We actually don't have any that we just got from a job posting. I mean, we couldn't find ones.
Well, and it's funny too, because just this week I had a friend of mine, she a couple months ago started driving for like DoorDash, and has just started posting on social media like all the wonderful notes that her customers that are regulars to her are giving her through DoorDash. And so I remember just kind of scrolling through Facebook at like 8 o'clock at night, and I saw this and I went, hey Liz, I love how passionate you are about, you know, the client experience. Let me know if you ever want to talk about an opportunity in real estate. Why not, right? I don't know if she would be a great fit or not, but one thing that we're always looking for is people who are willing to go above and beyond for our clients. And her and I have a call scheduled this evening. So she could potentially be somebody that I put on my bench, and I want to make sure that I stay in touch with her if we decide she does become a good candidate for our team one day.
Yeah, that's a great example of what potentially could be a bench, right? Talent that we could bring on, especially since we don't know when we need the talent. Goes back to what Cameron was saying about the timeline. I think we plan, and all plans change depending on the market, things that happen, right? So you never know when you need to call that list. And it also goes back to talent should expand our world. So if we're really saying they're talent and we choose to work with them, at any point, if we decide to bring them on, they should be getting a return for the partnership that we're getting out of it.
Is there like an industry best practice for, like, let's say you have a growth plan and org chart a year or two out, you know, like, is there a best practice for like how far in advance you should start the jobs, like the candidate search process? Can anyone speak to that?
So just to clarify, you're saying like if you have a 2022 org chart, you're hiring to plan, when would you start that hiring process, or when do you
Yeah.
start looking?
I'd say minimum 90 days. And based on the KW process, I mean, it takes a long time to get through it if you have several people. I mean, just doing the KPA and all the validation and the life story and the this and the that, it's a long process. So if you don't get someone up front, you know, in the pipeline, it could take longer than that. You probably want at least some qualified candidates 90 days in advance, so you can basically say, I'm picking from these people. And you have to go through all of that stuff.
So we also lean heavily on our economic model when we're developing that when it comes to our org chart. So we're kind of looking at our past couple of years worth of seasonality and inventory and how we're expecting our next years to line up based off of the amount of production that we want to do. And we try to then figure out, okay, if now that we have our individual agent goals and we have our team goals, what kind of gaps are we looking at in order to achieve our total goal? And how can we stagger these hires throughout the year as we believe we need them based off of our past seasonalities and things like that in order to make sure we have somebody in that seat by a certain date. So if we know that one of our greatest quarters is the third quarter in terms of production, and we're on track for the entire year, we know that 3 months minimum prior to that third quarter, so really in the beginning of the second quarter, we need to start prospecting for whoever that person is going to be. And that can sometimes be a nice way to break things up and plan for those hires.
Yeah, somebody earlier mentioned, like, raised the question, is it ethical to just like always be interviewing and posting jobs when you don't need it? But it seems like to me, hiring is such a skill that needs to be developed, and also like even just the interviewing process or recognizing talent. So it probably would be a good idea to always have an ad running and have a goal for yourself, you know, like this is how many preliminary phone conversations I'm going to have each week. This is how many KPAs I'm going to verify each month, because there really is no harm. I guess maybe once you're getting to the KPA process and you're asking someone to commit, like, you know, to this rigorous
Yeah.
thing, but like maybe just like the parts before that where you're just simply calling someone to have a conversation, maybe to verify the resume, something like that. It might be just a good practice to always be having those kinds of conversations and be in that headspace. And you never know, you know, you might find someone that's amazing and be like, you know what, maybe we can speed up the timeline for this. I don't want to lose this person. And then, or if you do have to wait for 6 months to a year, you could go back through those people that you started and had a great phone conversation with and see if they're still looking for an opportunity.
That's where my mind went. I think if we were constantly hiring, like if we didn't have a need like we do when we physically go out and say, instead of choosing to work with talent and we just say, I'm hiring for a specific position because I need it now, I think we say yes a lot more than if we had our choice, right? If I actually gave you like 200 people that you could talk to and have a great, and you had all the time in the world to talk to them, you would probably say no a lot more than what we do now. But it's because we'll get 15, 20 applications, we're limited on time, we have a problem, and we go, this looks like the best out of everyone that I've spoke to and went through.
Yeah, it's almost like the mindset shifts when you have that immediate need. Like standards get lowered because you have to do this thing. We just hired somebody who didn't work out, and it was just like this phenomenal failure. And I know that it just never would have, they never would have made the cut if it was just this organic like program that was always humming along in the background and we were always talking to people. So I'm really trying to avoid making mistakes out of necessity and like short term trying to fill the need. So this is very helpful conversation.
I would say another spin on always looking is to identify the characteristics that would be best suited for the positions that you're kind of always looking for. And then go search out those types of people, whether it's networking events, whether it's Facebook groups, and just kind of keep your eye on those types of individuals. Reach out, have conversations, ask them about what they're doing and what works and what doesn't, and really kind of dig into their personalities. But I would say start with that culture piece or those characteristics that you think would best be suited for those positions. And then just look out for those kinds of people, not necessarily in the industry even. I attend a lot of networking events that are young business professionals or, different things of that nature. None of them are necessarily real estate minded or real estate industry minded, but I can pinpoint, characteristics in these individuals where I'm like, that person would be great at X. That's another way of doing it instead of always having an ad running. I think people will start to catch on, and be like, they're not really hiring. I'm not going to really be that interested kind of thing. But if you're actively looking, I mean, you can even go on to the Indeeds of the world and look at resumes that people have posted and kind of go from the backside and look at it that direction instead of like having them apply to you, and just look at resumes if that's something that is interesting to you. But I would say networking and finding those individuals that kind of meet those characteristics and qualities and culture of your organization would 9 times out of 10 find somebody that is better suited than, just trying to like pick somebody out of a pile.
Do you think that familiarizing yourself with DISC is enough to start to be able to interpret like different personalities, or do you think there's like a better resource?
Personally, I just know what our culture fit is here.
Yeah.
And the type of individual that we're looking for the different positions. Like we're looking for a buyer's agent right now, actually. I mean, and it could be a listing agent too, but I mean, specifically more on the buyer side. But we have a very specific type of culture. So it's going to have to be somebody that really meshes in that environment and also is good at what they do. So I think it's not just the DISC, or it's not just one of those things. I think it's look at really what your culture fit is in your organization, because at the end of the day, if they don't like being there and you don't like them there, then they're not going to stay, whether they're good at what they're doing or not.
Yeah, the fit is probably number one, the most important piece.
May I introduce Julian, who was able to make it today. I asked him if he could come. He, since I've been working with them three times now, he has lost a team member, and I have come mentally prepared to the call for the typical, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is a nightmare. I'm so unprepared. I don't understand how I'm going to get my job done. And every time I've said, okay, Julian, what's next? He said, oh, Megan, this is no big deal. I've got like a whole bunch of super talented people. He's pulled one off the bench, he's put him into the role, and Julian has been like cool as a cucumber, business as usual. So Julian, tell us how you do that.
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry that I'm late. I barely made it anyway, so I had to push around stuff, but here I am. And Megan, thank you for reminding me to jump in here. So yes, so a couple of things. I've been hiring people for a very long time, and now I just had to learn very quickly how to do that in real estate. So I came on board, and I was, like Megan says, like there is quite a bit of a turnover in real estate. And what Shannon says, if a cultural fit, probably, I would say probably the cultural fit is number one thing you need to look for. Everything else can help and support your decision, but the cultural fit is the key for you to have successful hire. However, even if you have successful hire, or if you think you have one, that does not guarantee that this person will succeed on their position. Not at all. But what you can do to succeed in your position is to have a bench, and that bench, I really would like to turn my camera to show you how it looked like in my situation. It's right there on the wall behind my economic model. So do you see all these sticky notes on this list right there? So these are names of people, and they start in August, July, September, and such. So I'm constantly recruiting people, and I'm putting them on my bench. What does that mean? It doesn't mean they're hired, but they're 95% through the process, and I'm constantly touching base with them. It's kind of a nurture and lead generation. I nurture those people. And it's like, hey, what's up? How's it going? There is a person that's starting now in August 15, and I have nurtured her since October. No, I like you. Since February. She came on our career night in February. Now it's August. So this is the relationship you build with this person. They come, you show them. I have an open door day that they come and shadow lead generation. They see what we're doing here. They're getting excited, seeing the team culture, seeing if we're fit for them, and we see if they're fit for us, but we don't advertise that. And they're coming in here, you know, and getting inspired, and then you make a plan for them. All right, let's see how we're gonna get you to work with our team. Do you have a lessons? How are we gonna get you lessons? You know, all of those things. During this process, you're touching base with them, and one moment just letting them go, and they start chasing you back. So when that moment happens, you know you have a solid person on the bench, and you sign it off, and you just let it there, and just follow up with the people respectfully and making sure you answer all of their questions. So I have another one example, very similar situation. She's going to be starting now in September. She's coming from a very strong sales background in medical industry, and high achiever with like around 2 million in revenue of sales in the medical field, which she said, that's about average. I was like, well, you come on in here, you'll make a lot more. So it's all about like not just finding the talent, but finding the motivation. Are they cultural fit? And then is this follow-up plan that you want to create for each one of them. I have visuals, so I know exactly when I have people, when they're about to start, the people that are hanging out there and they're waiting to get started. I have everything documented on a lead generation tracker as well. So I had a situation with my TC that he failed on the position, so that's fine, not a big deal. Like Megan says, go out from the bench, and ta-da, we have a new TC. Jamie, would you like to just wait? She's on a training right now, but anyhow. So, and I'm training her right at the moment. I'm training her because I'm not the TC person at all, but more of a coaching, support, and all of that stuff that she needs. But it's been very great, and she's been succeeding by day. Do you want to wait real quick here, Jamie? Just wait. There's Jamie. Yeah. Ta-da! Yeah. So Jamie is the person that she just started on the position. And it's been absolute pleasure working with her, and that's what you do. And the other day I was starting a new bench building for that same position, and I tell her straightforward, I was like, hey, listen, I'm building my bench for TC. If you see that I'm working on a post or talking to people about that position, I want to be completely transparent and respectful to you and tell you. If something happened with you, if you know, whatever that is, I'll be upfront and tell you, hey, this is what's happened. I'm just building a bench. We love you, we keep you, and all of that, but I need to be prepared. She's like, oh, this is so smart. I never heard about that concept before. Thank you for being upfront and transparent like that. Because in the end of the day, I want to be honest with my team and giving them heads up. So it's a part of my job to be secure and prepare us for whatever might happen. So with that being said, there is a couple of techniques I use. Number one, like Shannon said, cultural fit. Are they cultural fit? Okay, let's see that. Then number two, disc. Of course, that helps a lot. You need to know on the disc, you know, what is the personality that will be a great match for, you know, for that position. If they're high I, probably not the best match, because you want your TC to be more analytical, you want them to be more systematic, you want them to be a little more, how to say that, excited about boring things. So if they're too excited for exciting things, they're probably not for that position, because simply the position, it's more of a, you all guys know what the TC position is. You're more systematic, you work with people, you provide great service, you have to be there, you have to be passionate and love it, but not necessarily you need to be, overwhelming or exciting and all that stuff. And so, therefore, the same way I'm choosing for any other position. I'm about to have agent on training that comes from apprenticeship program that also came through my bench. And she's going to be starting on Monday. And she came through my bench, through the apprenticeship. She hit her goals. And now on Monday, going to have the conversation with her, becoming an agent on our team. There is a second apprentice that also came from my bench after I lost my other two apprentices. And he's hitting his goals even harder. He had 2 appointments set in one day today. That was like, whoa, Anthony, what's happening here, sir? And he's like appointment machine right now. Like, he's better than some of our agents. So it's all about giving opportunity to people. Always have a bench, the person who can jump in if somebody jump out. So you keep your production going in the same pace, and you always touch base with them. It's like, hey, right at the second, I don't have the opportunity available, but I would like to stay with you, in touch with you, because you're awesome. And are you interested for me to continue that conversation with you? And they're like, either way, oh yeah, I'm so excited, like Ali and Christy and other people I have on my pipeline. Or they'll tell you, hey, I really look for something that's happening right now, and I don't want you to, I'm not interested. And this is the moment okay, so I need to find another person to put the sticky note with their name on my pipeline. And that's how I do it, guys. It's very simple. It's not required too much thinking. It's more of a process. And that's it.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
You kind of breezed over it. So did you indicate that on your bench, that 95% of the people that are on your bench, you've gone through the KPA, the KPA validation, the life story, the whole bit? 95% of them? Wow,
95.
that's something. Good for you.
Yep.
I give you props because that seems like quite a feat.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, guys, but if you're doing it every day, it's like lead generation. It's on my calendar. I call it like a talent hunt hours. And you go to the talent hunt hours at the same time. Usually I'm trying to do it in the morning hours like the agents. So while they're lead generating, I'm doing that. Oh, another thing, when we have both 100, I have both 50. So when they're calling for to generate business, I generate their future coworkers. So this is the times that, I fill up my pipeline. And usually this time I'm very intentional, who am I calling? I don't call Indeed. I have a different list, and I share that with Megan. I don't know if Megan gave me that idea. Maybe Megan came from Megan. It was a while ago. I'm pretty sure it came from Megan. It was like, Julian, you need to pull up where you're going to have a good recommendations. What is our profession? It's relationship profession. So what we have to do is build relationships. So I usually call like agents with revenue that have with business with volume of business between $1 to $7 million of volume and experience. And when the conversation goes with them, the conversation is not, oh, we are looking to hire, are you interested? It's more, hey, do you know somebody that might be interested in opportunity in real estate? So I have the scripts for all of that. Megan approved, so we're good. And so I call these people. So some of them actually have people that they know. They're like, oh yeah, you know what? My cousin, she just got her real estate license. So she's looking for opportunity. Great. Can I speak with her? Sure. Here is the number. You call the cousin. Next thing you know, she's on with a sticky note there, going through the process. When we reach the 90-95% go through, pretty much when they pass the life story and motivation, that's when I really slow down, because it's left only to go through reference. And, there is like after that, it's defense, I mean, actually, when you're getting apprentice, it's a little different. You don't need to go through all of these steps quite yet, but pretty much since I'm leaving them on life story motivation. When I pass that, I slow down the process, and then as it comes closer, I'm finishing up the process very quickly, and they're getting their starting date. So that's how it goes, guys. It's a lot, and I really breeze through it, but also with respect to your time.
You make it sound so easy. Who's got questions for Julian about how he's doing that?
It's calling, it's dedication. That's it.
How long does somebody stay on your bench before they either find something else or you lose touch?
Excellent question, Shannon. So I have variety of answers on that. I have not averaged anybody quite yet because I have people, like I mentioned, Ali, that is about to start now on August 15. She's been on my bench since February. And then I have Christy. She's been on my bench since September. No, I'm sorry, she's supposed to start in September. She's been since April this year, been on my bench. I have people that drop down. I see 2 of them drop down. They've been on my bench for about 2.5 months. So it's different for each person is different, but I would say you could, it all depends on the person. It's all depends how often you're gonna touch base and also how quickly they are looking to get in business. Some of them are out of town, that they're about to move to Nashville, and those are the ones that are really great to get in touch with. Out of town agents or admins, whatever you need, stay in touch with them, know when they're gonna be moving in, make a plan for them, start following up. Those are great. Great one right there. So other people are, like already in town, but they're not necessarily rushing to get into anything. And now after COVID, if you find this type of people that are like, oh, I'm really exploring where I should be, you're the one that can actually pull them a little, help them to figure it out what their motivation is. What are you looking for? What will make you happy moving or changing your career? How is your future career look like? What is your imagination and what is your desires behind that career? Like what drives you? And when they start describing different things that align with what the real estate can offer, you already know you're pointing them in the right direction. If they said, no, I want to be working a stable job 9 to 5 and do pretty much nothing, then you're like, well, that's not for you. So, but there's lots of people that are very inspiring and you just sort them out. Carrying on. That's how it goes. It's really about systematically touching base with them. Does anyone else?
Yeah, I have a quick question. What are different ways that you are staying in touch with them? Are you primarily just calling, or are you putting them on like a drip plan like you would any other lead? And if so, what kind of things are you putting in that drip plan to stay in contact with them?
Awesome. I love that question, Sarah. Actually, yes, my main way of touching base with people is call. Like that's, old fashioned. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like emails, it's been not as personal for me personally. That sounded very confusing. Not as personal for me personally. So the best personal way to stay in touch with somebody is a call. I also, like I mentioned, I have a little technique and a tweak to it. I call it the open doors day. That's the day that I'm saying, hey, come on in. Let's see if it's for you. Like get into our office, see our team, see how they work. And once when these people come into the office, you really can know how determined they are to start working on your team. Some people really tend to wait, and they really want to wait for the right opportunity, and they see themselves and they work on their lessons, and meanwhile, or if they're admin, they'll just like do something else until the position become available. But also be fair with them. So if they're on an admin position, you don't want to hold somebody on a year drip plan for an admin and torture them when you know that they're looking for something quickly. So if you don't have the position coming up shortly, be honest and upfront with them and just tell them, hey guys, in the next 2 or 3 months, I don't think we have opportunity, but let's look forward, like in the next 6 months, maybe we'll have opportunity. Would you like to stay in touch with you? And they'll be like, oh yeah, that works, please. Or, nah, you know what, I'm looking for something right now. Or you have number 3 that will say, oh yes, please stay in touch with me, but I don't guarantee you that I'm gonna be available. So be fair and be transparent. That helps a lot.
I appreciate you saying that. My situation was very similar. My rainmaker, Sajid, I actually started interviewing for the job in June, and I did not start until that February. And very much, just to give you guys an example, like Julian was saying, it was very clear up front, like we're looking to make this hire at the beginning of the year, but we're looking for talented people now to maybe see if that worked out.
Yep. That's exactly how it is. And the other thing I've learned, like for example, I have this ISA apprentice that was going to start right now, the one that I've been in touch with her since November last year. I mean, literally what happened is she's in sales, she's doing it right now, and she took the time to research the entire industry because she gets so inspired from what we're doing here. And she took the time to get her lessons meanwhile, to get prepared, to finalize her moving and all other things. But she's the one that is in touch. She's the one that is already like past the bench period. I could call them like motivated bench. I have just one, actually 2 of them on that motivated bench that I'm letting them lead. They are the one that making the steps, and they're the one that know what they're gonna get if they hit their goals. The only thing she asked me is like, if I hit my goals, am I going to get the position for sure? I was like, yes, you do. Now that we have the opportunity in August, you're definitely going to get that position. We have the budget, everything is good. Hit your goals and you're going to get the position. And if you don't, well, maybe it's up to you. And she's like, yeah. It's all about being honest. That's the most important thing. I believe, like, you can't tell people, like, you can lie and you can tell them, oh yeah, you're gonna get that position 100%. No, if it's not 100%, don't tell them it's 100%. If it's something that they need to achieve to prove themselves, then tell them that. So they be upfront, and it's been really appreciated on their end as well, because they know how to prepare themselves to be successful. I've learned that actually from the hiring classes we've had here in KW coaching, so that was very nice. Be upfront, be honest, tell them what it is, give them the reality. Don't sugarcoat anything. Don't tell them like, yeah, we want you. If you don't know, say, hey, I can offer you apprenticeship. I can offer you 30, 60, 90 goals, and if you hit these 30, 60, 90 goals, you're gonna hit. If you're not, it's on you. And that's how you do it. Any other questions, guys, you might have? Maybe one thing I would like to mention when you organize your systems, I use very simple thing. I have a spreadsheet that I put, like, admin is on one tab, agents are on the other tab. I track them down and move them through the process, have like a little access. So if they're moving from, screening, where they're in the process, if they're exited, if they're not. And then I have my visual board, kind of Julian style visual board. So you sign their name once when they are starting. And then the sticky notes are moving, because sometimes they're on your bench for July, but you speak with them and they're like, you know what, I really thought about starting in September. And that's great. I'm not pushing you to start early, because this is your program and this is your apprenticeship. So that's only for agents. If it's an admin, it's a little different. So you need them to start when you need them to start. But if it's an agent and they go through apprenticeship, that means, hey, you want to start in September? We went through the process. We know we are matched. That's great. Tell me how you're gonna, what stops you, what needs to happen for you to start now. And if they're like, hey, we're in the process of moving to a new home, and I'm responsible for making that happen. So give me just another 2 weeks. I really want to start. I was like, yeah, sure. that's fine. You know, just put the sticky notes, whatever you have to put it, and when they start putting it there, if they pass 30 days, check it. 60 days, check it. 90 days, check that out as well. And you know, you have a new agent or admin or whatever you need to have. It's very simple system, but works very well for me. It's great.
Imagine that, the laws of the database.
Yep.
Build it, feed it every day, communicate with it in a systematic way, service it.
Yep. That's it.
Leave it to Zach to bring it back to the laws of the database. Well, Julian, thank you so much for coming to tell us about your process. I mean, you have such a strong, robust bench. Like truly, his most recent TC left. He pulled in the new TC, had her in like a matter of days, and now he's not even the one training her. He's so leveraged. He's got other people training her on the TC side. So like incredible insight into your bench building process that allows you to experience no delay when you lose a team member. So thank you for that.
Of course. You told me a lot, Megan, so give yourself credit as well. You're my coach there, and I cannot thank you enough for so many tips you gave me and Megan.
You do the heavy lifting. So what do we want to talk about next week? We've got 60 seconds to decide our topic next week.
Agent, I would say agent in training programs. How we are training new agents successfully. What are the steps we need to take to make sure that this new agent is trained, successfully, so they can actually get into production and be successful, not just fall off after we put all of the effort to push them through apprenticeship. And I mean, they push themselves to that. For those of you that have this program, or we just put all the effort to hire them and they're awesome. So now how we can support them that they can successfully become a member of our team. I would suggest that topic, but
I love that.
Got some head nods. You had a second.
Everyone vote now. Lift your hand. There you go.
Okay, Emily's got 2, that's 3 thumbs up because she's using the one on her screen. So awesome. So, okay, so next week, that'll be our topic, how to move agents. Tell me if I get this wrong, like how to move agents through training into production.
Yep, that's it. You got it right.
Okay. All right. Good with you, Zach?
Good with me. And I think the book we're leaning towards is Who Moved My Cheese?
Right, because we never set that for August.
Yeah, but we'll finalize that. But I believe that's the book that seemed to get the most votes.
You guys, see you next week.
Talk to everyone soon.
Have a good day.